You don't win with strength. You win with strategy. The biggest victories are silent. The greatest power is invisible. Most people move through life reacting. You must learn to move with purpose. The art of war is not just about battle. It's about awareness, timing, and control. Master these and you will win before the fight begins. In this video, I will teach you how to think like a general and act like a ghost. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully, for I am about to teach you the first and most vital principle of warfare. The supreme art of war is to win without fighting. You see, most people believe victory is born in the moment of battle. They are wrong. Victory is born in the shadows of preparation, in the silence of strategy, in the depths of your mind, long before the first move is made. This is the wisdom that has toppled kingdoms and built empires, yet most will never grasp its profound truth. Think of the general who studies the terrain for months before deploying his troops. Think of the entrepreneur who spends years building systems before launching their empire. Think of the diplomat who arranges alliances so perfectly that enemies bow without drawing swords. This is true power, and it flows not from the blade, but from the mind. But I see you questioning this wisdom. You think, surely strength matters? Surely we must fight sometimes? Yes, strength has its place. But strength without strategy is like a sword without a wielder. Dangerous, yet ultimately useless. I have seen armies of thousands defeated by hundreds, not because the hundreds were stronger, but because they had won before the battle began. Let me share with you a truth I learned watching countless armies rise and fall. The greatest victories are won in empty rooms, in quiet moments of thought, in careful observation of your opponent's patterns. When you see a sudden success, look closer. You will find years of invisible preparation. The master strategist sees 10 moves ahead, while others see only their next step. Consider the bamboo. For 4 years it grows beneath the soil, invisible to all. Its roots spread deep and wide, creating an unshakable foundation. Then, in the 5th year, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. The foolish call this sudden growth. The wise know better. They understand that those 4 years of invisible growth were not waiting. They were winning. This is how you must approach your own battles, whether in business, in relationships, or in personal growth. Build your foundation first. Strengthen your mind. Study your environment. Understand your resources. Know your opponent better than they know themselves. Every detail you gather, every pattern you recognize, every weakness you identify, these are victories won before the battle begins. When you master this principle, something remarkable happens. The very battles you once feared begin to dissolve before they start. Why? Because you have already shaped the battlefield. You have already positioned yourself for success. You have already won in the minds of those who matter. Your opponents will feel the weight of your preparation without understanding its source. But this requires patience. It requires discipline. Most of all, it requires the wisdom to understand that true power lies not in the fight itself, but in making the fight unnecessary. While others train their bodies, you must train your mind to see the invisible paths to victory. Remember, the supreme strategist is not the one who wins every battle. The supreme strategist is the one who creates conditions where battles become unnecessary. They win so completely that potential opponents question their own resolve before ever taking action. This is why I say, learn to win before you fight. Master the art of invisible preparation. Understand that the real battle is won in your mind, in your planning, in your positioning, long before any visible conflict begins. The fool rushes to fight. The wise prepare to win. Let this sink deep into your consciousness. Your greatest victories will not come from what you do in the moment of conflict. They will come from what you did in the 1,000 moments before. Every detail you study, every scenario you anticipate, every alliance you forge, these are the invisible weapons that decide wars before they begin. The question is not, Are you strong enough to win? The question is, are you strategic enough to make strength unnecessary? In every challenge you face, ask yourself, have I won this battle in my mind? Have I prepared so thoroughly that victory is inevitable? Think on this. Let it transform how you approach every challenge. Because once you truly understand this principle, you will never approach conflict the same way again. You will learn to win before you fight. And in this understanding lies the key to all victory. In all my years of studying warfare, I have seen mighty armies crumble not from lack of strength, but from lack of clarity. This truth echoes through the centuries. Clarity is not just power, it is the foundation of all power. When your vision is clouded, every step leads you deeper into the fog of confusion. But when your vision is clear, even the most complex battlefield becomes a path to victory. Let me show you what most fail to see. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want. It is about understanding with absolute precision what victory looks like, what defeat looks like, and every terrain between these 2 points. Most people move through life like soldiers wandering in the dark, responding to shadows, fighting battles they cannot see. They mistake motion for progress, activity for achievement. But ask them to describe their objective with precision and watch how they stumble over their own thoughts. This is why they fail. The power of clarity begins with brutal honesty. Byupsopo must see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. When I counsel rulers and generals, my first question is always the same. What exactly do you seek to achieve? Their first answers are always vague. Glory, victory, power. But vague goals produce vague results. I push them further, harder, until their vision becomes sharp enough to cut through confusion. Consider the archer. To hit the target, he must see it with perfect clarity. The distance, the wind, the weight of the arrow, all these matter, yes. But without a clear target, all his skill amounts to nothing. He becomes just another fool shooting arrows into the mist. Your mind must become like a still pond at dawn, reflecting reality with perfect precision. No ripples of emotion, no waves of doubt, no turbulence of fear. This is how you begin to see. Clearly, this is how you begin to win. But clarity demands more than just vision. It demands ruthless honesty about your resources, your capabilities, and your limitations. In my treatise on warfare, I speak of 5 fundamental factors: moral influence, weather, terrain, command, and doctrine. Each must be understood with crystal clarity. The general who deludes himself about any of these courts, disaster. The same. Principles apply to your battles. What are your true strengths? Not what you wish them to be, what they actually are. What are your weaknesses? Not what you admit in public, what they truly are in the dark of night. What resources do you command? What allies can you call upon? What terrain must you cross? This level of clarity is uncomfortable. It strips away illusions. It forces you to face truths you might prefer to ignore, but comfort is the enemy of victory. Clarity is your weapon, and like any weapon, it must be sharp to be effective. Here is what most never understand. Clarity of vision creates clarity of action. When you see with perfect clarity, your movements become precise, your decisions become sharp, your energy becomes focused. No more wasted motion, no more scattered efforts. Every step moves you closer to your objective because you can see the path with perfect precision. But achieving this clarity requires discipline. You must train your mind to cut through confusion like a sword through silk. You must learn to ask the right questions. What exactly do I seek to achieve? What stands in my way? What resources do I command? What must be sacrificed? What must be preserved? The answers to these questions become your map, your compass, your guide through the chaos of battle. They transform confusion into strategy, doubt into decision, weakness into opportunity. This is how clarity becomes power. Remember this: in any conflict, the side with the clearer vision holds the advantage. They move with purpose while others hesitate. They strike with precision while others flail. They conserve their strength while others exhaust themselves fighting phantoms. Let others live in confusion. Let them chase vague dreams and fight unclear battles. You must be different. You must cultivate clarity like a weapon, sharpen it like a blade, protect it like a treasure. Because in the end, the clearest vision wins. Look at your life, your goals, your battles. Are they sharp enough to cut? Can you see them with such clarity that you could describe them to a child? If not, you have work to do. Because until your vision becomes clear enough to illuminate the path ahead, you are just another warrior swinging blindly in the dark. Clarity is power, and power, properly directed, becomes victory. If you know your enemy but do not know yourself, every victory will bleed into defeat. This is not philosophical meandering. It is the cold steel of truth that has determined the fate of empires. Let me tell you what I have seen in countless battles. Warriors who could recite every detail about their opponent's tactics, yet fell because they refused to acknowledge their own fear. Generals who knew the terrain like their own hands, yet led their armies to ruin because they overestimated their strength. Leaders who mastered strategy but remained blind to their own weaknesses. Self-deception is the first enemy you must defeat. It is also the most dangerous because it wears the mask of confidence. It whispers sweet lies that comfort you while leading you to destruction. You are ready, it says, when you are not. You are strong, it promises, when you are weak. You cannot fail, it assures you, even as you walk into the jaws of defeat. But true self-knowledge? This is the foundation upon which all victory is built. It is not about listing your strengths and weaknesses like items in a merchant's ledger. It is about understanding the depths of your nature with such clarity that nothing, no surprise, no setback, no challenge, can shake your foundation. Consider the tiger. Its power lies not just in its claws or its teeth, but in its perfect understanding of what it can and cannot do. It does not try to fly like an eagle or swim like a fish. It knows its nature and acts accordingly. This is why it survives, why it thrives, why it rules its domain. You must become like the tiger. You must know your true nature with the same instinctive certainty. What drives you forward? What holds you back? Where does your true strength lie? Not the strength you wish you had, but the strength that flows naturally from your being. I have trained countless warriors, and I tell you this: the most dangerous moment in any battle is not when you face your enemy, it is when you lie to yourself. Every great defeat I have witnessed began not with a superior enemy, but with self-deception. To know yourself is to understand your patterns. How do you react under pressure? What triggers your anger? What clouds your judgment? These are not abstract questions. They are the difference between victory and defeat. A warrior who knows that fear makes him rush can prepare for that tendency. A leader who knows that anger blinds her judgment can build safeguards against that weakness. But self-knowledge requires courage. You must be willing to look into the mirror of truth and see yourself exactly as you are. No flattery, no excuses, no self-deception. This is why so few achieve it. It is easier to lie to yourself. It is more comfortable to maintain your illusions. Let me share a truth that most will never accept. Your greatest enemy is not the one who stands before you in battle. Your greatest enemy is the gap between who you think you are and who you actually are. Every time this gap catches you by surprise, defeat follows as surely as night follows day. You must study yourself with the same intensity you would study an enemy. Track your patterns, analyze your decisions, examine your failures not with shame, but with the cold precision of a strategist. Every mistake, every failure, every moment of weakness, these are not marks of shame. They are intelligence about yourself that you must gather and understand. This knowledge must go deeper than mere thought. It must become part of your bones, your breath, your blood. When you move, when you decide, When you act, you must know yourself so well that your responses flow naturally, like water finding its path downhill. Remember, in battle, the warrior, who knows himself, has already won half the fight. He knows when to advance and when to retreat. He knows which battles he can win and which he must avoid. He knows how to use his strengths and how to protect his weaknesses. This is not wisdom, it is warfare. And here is the secret that transforms self-knowledge into power. When you truly know yourself, you become impossible to deceive. No enemy can surprise you because you have already faced your own demons. No challenge can break you because you know exactly where you stand. No defeat can destroy you because you understand your own capacity for renewal. Do not mistake confidence for self-knowledge. Do not mistake experience for self-understanding. Do not mistake success for self-awareness. These are different territories, and only one of them, true self-knowledge, will serve you in your darkest hour. Start now. Begin the merciless examination of who you truly are. Strip away the lies you tell yourself. Face your fears, your weaknesses, your limitations. Only then can you begin to transform them. Only then can you begin to win, because in the end, every battle is fought twice. First in your mind, and then in the world. If you cannot win the battle with yourself, you have already lost all other battles to come. The fool sees only what stands before him. The master sees the entire battlefield. But what is this battlefield I speak of? It is not just the ground beneath your feet. It is the entire web of circumstances that surrounds you, shapes you, and determines your path to victory. Let me reveal a truth that has decided the fate of nations. Your environment is not merely a stage where you act. It is a living force that either serves you or destroys you. Every success, every failure, every opportunity, and every obstacle is written in the terrain of your life long before you encounter it. I have seen armies of thousands destroyed, not by the enemy's strength, but by their failure to read the terrain. They marched into swamps because they didn't understand the land. They starved because they didn't map their supply lines. They were ambushed because they didn't see how the landscape could be used against them. Your battlefield is more complex than any general's. It is your relationships, the alliances you forge, the rivals you face, the networks you build. It is your habits, the daily patterns that either strengthen or weaken you. It is your mind, the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that shape every decision you make. Consider the master general who studies not just the mountains and rivers, but the weather, the seasons, the local customs, the supply routes, the morale of his troops, and the politics of the region. This is how you must study your terrain. Every detail matters. Every pattern holds power. When I counsel leaders, I ask them, "Do you know where you stand?" They point to their position on a map. But I am asking about the deeper terrain, the currents of power, the hidden allegiances, the unspoken rules that govern their world. This is the terrain that decides victories before battles begin. Your habits are the first terrain you must master. They are the ground on which you build your life. Look at them with the cold eyes of a strategist. Which habits serve you? Which habits sabotage you? Which habits leave you vulnerable to defeat? This is not about judgment. It is about tactical advantage. Your relationships form the second terrain. Every person in your life is either an ally, a neutral party, or an opponent. But it's more complex than that. Allies in one situation may become opponents in another. Neutral parties may hold the key to victory. You must map these relationships with precision, understanding not just who people are, but how they connect, what they value, and how they can impact your path. The terrain of your mind is perhaps the most crucial battlefield of all. Your thoughts create paths, like troops moving across a landscape. Your beliefs build fortresses that either protect or imprison you. Your emotions flow like rivers that can either nourish your campaigns or flood your defenses. But here is what most fail to grasp. The terrain is always changing. What worked yesterday may fail tomorrow. The path that led to victory in the past may lead to defeat in the future. This is why you must never stop reading the landscape of your life. Learn to see the patterns that others miss. In every situation, ask yourself, what are the hidden advantages in this terrain? What are the unseen dangers? Where are the paths of least resistance? Where are the positions of greatest advantage? This is not paranoia. It is strategic wisdom. Your resources are part of your terrain. Time, energy, money, skills, connections. These are like the supply lines of an army. Know them intimately. Know how they flow, where they come from, how they can be cut off, and how they can be strengthened. A general who doesn't secure his supply lines loses before the battle begins. Remember this. In any environment, there are positions of power and positions of weakness. There are paths that amplify your strength and paths that drain it. There are situations that favor you and situations that favor your opponents. Your task is to read these patterns and position yourself accordingly. Most people stumble through their terrain like blind men in a battlefield. They crash into obstacles they should have seen coming. They miss opportunities that were written in the landscape. They fight against the terrain instead of using it to their advantage. You must be different. You must develop the eye of a master strategist who sees not just what is, but what could be. Every room you enter, every situation you face, every challenge that rises before you. These are terrains to be read, understood, and mastered. This is how you transform your environment from an obstacle into an ally. This is how you make the very ground beneath your feet serve your purpose. This is how you ensure that when the moment of conflict comes, the terrain itself fights on your side. Master the terrain, and you master the game. But remember, the map is not the territory. You must step into your battlefield, feel its contours, learn its secrets, and make it your own. Only then can you truly command your destiny. The difference between a master and a novice is not in their strength, but in their timing. I have watched armies of thousands fall to hundreds simply because they attacked at the wrong moment. Emotion told them to strike. Strategy told them to wait. They chose emotion, and they were destroyed. Let me share with you the most dangerous truth about timing. Your emotions will almost always urge you to act at the wrong moment. Anger will tell you to strike too soon. Fear will make you hesitate too long. Pride will blind you to the perfect opportunity. This is why most people fail. They let their emotions decide their timing. Consider the tiger again. When it hunts, it does not attack the moment it sees its prey. It does not rush forward in excitement. It does not delay in fear. It waits. It then watches. It measures. It chooses the perfect moment with cold precision. This is not patience for patience's sake. It is strategy in its purest form. Your emotions are like clouds passing across the sun of your judgment. They create shadows that distort your perception of timing. When you are angry, everything looks like the right moment to attack. When you are afraid, no moment seems right. When you are eager, every opportunity appears golden. This is the trap that has destroyed countless warriors. I have trained generals who could command armies, but could not command their own timing. They would say, "But Master, the enemy is weak now. We must attack." And I would ask them, are they truly weak, or does your impatience make them appear so? This is the question you must ask yourself in every battle you face. True timing comes from a place of stillness. It is like the surface of a lake at dawn, so calm that it reflects reality without distortion. This stillness allows you to see the rhythms of your environment, the patterns of your opponents, the flow of circumstances. From this stillness, you can choose the perfect moment to act. But let me warn you about a truth that few understand. Perfect timing often looks like inaction to those who don't understand strategy. While others rush forward, you wait. While others retreat in fear, you hold your position. While others exhaust themselves with constant motion, you remain still, gathering your strength, watching for the perfect moment. This is not passivity. It is power in its most concentrated form. It is the difference between the novice who throws 100 punches hoping one will land, and the master who throws one punch that cannot miss. It is the difference between the entrepreneur who launches a dozen failed ventures and the one who waits for the perfect market conditions before striking. Learn to read the rhythms of your battlefield. Every situation, every opponent, every opportunity has its own tempo. Some battles are won with swift action. Others require long periods of preparation. The master strategist adapts their timing to the rhythm of the situation, not the other way around. Your impulses will lie to you. They will tell you that now is the time, that you must act immediately, that you cannot afford to wait. This is the voice of weakness masquerading as strength. True power knows that timing cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. It must be chosen with the same precision a surgeon chooses where to cut. Here is a secret that has won more battles than any weapon. The perfect moment often reveals itself through your opponent's mistakes. When they rush, you wait. When they hesitate, you hold. When they become frustrated and act on emotion, you maintain your clarity. Their emotional timing becomes your strategic advantage. Most never grasp this truth. Timing is not just about when to act. It's about when to prepare, when to observe, when to gather strength, when to let your opponent make mistakes. Every moment, you resist the urge to act. Emotionally is a moment you invest in strategic timing. You must train yourself to recognize the difference between emotional urgency and strategic opportunity. Emotional urgency feels like a storm inside you, pushing you to act now. Strategic opportunity feels like clarity, a moment of perfect alignment between preparation and circumstance. Remember, the greatest victories often come not from what you do, but from when you do it. A perfect strategy executed at the wrong moment fails. An imperfect strategy executed with perfect timing succeeds. This is why timing is not just a tactical choice. It is the essence of strategy itself. Study the timing of your own patterns. When do you tend to act too quickly? When do you tend to hesitate too long? What emotions trigger premature action? What fears cause harmful delay? This self-knowledge becomes your compass for timing. In the end, mastery of timing comes down to this. Can you stay still when emotion tells you to move? Can you act decisively when opportunity truly presents itself? Can you tell the difference between the two? Answer these questions correctly, and victory will come not from your strength, but from your timing. The rigid warrior shatters in battle. The flexible warrior bends, adapts, and overcomes. This is not mere philosophy. It is the fundamental law of survival that nature has taught us since the dawn of time. Yet most refuse to learn it, clinging to their rigid forms like a soldier clutching a broken sword. Let me share with you the deepest secret of warfare. True power lies not in your ability to maintain a single form, but in your capacity to become formless, to flow like water around obstacles, to spread like fire when opportunity presents itself, to vanish like wind when pressure mounts, and to stand immovable like a mountain when circumstances demand it. I have watched mighty armies fall because they could only fight one way. They were like trees with deep roots, powerful in their place, but unable to move when the landscape of battle changed. When the terrain didn't suit their style, they broke. When their enemies didn't fight as expected, they crumbled. When their plans met reality, they shattered. Consider water, my most profound teacher in the art of warfare. Water has no constant shape, yet it can wear away mountains. It has no weapon, yet it can overcome any obstacle. It has no fixed strategy, yet it always finds a path to its destination. When you put it in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you put it in a valley, it becomes the river. This is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of power. But let me warn you about adaptability's greatest trap. Many mistake it for mere reaction, for simply responding to whatever comes. This is not adaptability. It is slavery to circumstance. True adaptability means maintaining your core purpose while changing your method. The river never forgets it must flow to the sea, though it may take 1,000 different paths to get there. You must learn to read the shifting patterns of your environment with the same instinct a sailor reads the waves. Every situation presents both danger and opportunity. Every change in circumstances opens new paths while closing others. The adaptive warrior sees these patterns and flows with them, using the very forces that would oppose them as the means to victory. This requires you to abandon the comfort of rigid forms. Your strategies must become fluid. Your tactics must become responsive. Your mind must become like clear water, reflecting reality without distortion, ready to take any form that the situation demands. This is why most fail. They love their plans, their habits, their ways of thinking more than they love victory. But hear this crucial truth. Adaptability is not the same as weakness. When water fills a container, it is gentle. When water breaks through a dam, it is overwhelming. True adaptability means knowing when to flow and when to strike, when to yield, and when to stand firm, when to scatter, and when to concentrate your force. Study how fire adapts. In narrow spaces, it becomes intense and focused. In open areas, it spreads and surrounds. Against the wind, it leans and adjusts its shape. With the wind, it races forward with unstoppable force. This is how you must learn to adapt, not just to survive, but to dominate any situation you face. Your strategies should be like water flowing downhill, always moving toward your objective, but never committed to a single path. When one route is blocked, water doesn't stop and complain about unfairness. It doesn't try to force its way through. It simply finds another path, effortlessly, naturally, inevitably. This kind of adaptability must become so natural that it requires no thought. In the midst of chaos, you won't have time to consult a manual or remember a theory. Your response must flow from deep understanding, like a martial artist whose body moves before their mind has time to think. Here is what the rigid never understand. True strength lies not in opposing force with force, but in adapting so perfectly that force becomes unnecessary. When circumstances change, change with them. When new information appears, adjust your plans. When your opponent transforms their strategy, transform your response. This is why I say, learn from everything, every defeat, every victory, every unexpected. Change becomes a lesson in adaptability. The more patterns you understand, the more flexible your response can be. The more strategies you master, the more options you have when circumstances shift. But remember this: adaptability must serve purpose. A warrior who adapts without direction is like a leaf in the wind, moving everywhere but arriving nowhere. Your adaptability must be guided by clear intention, must serve your larger strategy, must move you toward victory even as your path transforms. The ultimate expression of adaptability is to make change itself serve your purpose. Let others become confused by shifting circumstances. Let them waste energy fighting against change. You must learn to ride these changes like a bird rides the wind, using their very force to rise higher. Master this truth: the most adaptable warrior is both the most peaceful and the most dangerous. Peaceful because they need not fight against reality. Dangerous because they cannot be conquered by any single strategy, cannot be defeated by any single approach, cannot be trapped by any single expectation. The greatest victory is not the one that depletes all your strength. It is the one that leaves you stronger than before. Yet I watch warriors exhaust themselves needlessly, generals waste their resources foolishly, and leaders burn out their energy like children playing with fire. They mistake effort for effectiveness, activity for achievement. Let me reveal the secret that separates masters from amateurs. It is not how much energy you have, but how intelligently you use it. I have seen small forces defeat armies 10 times. Their size not through superior strength, but through superior energy management. They strike once where it matters, instead of 10 times where it doesn't. Your energy, mental, emotional, physical, is like the supplies of an army. Waste it, and you will find yourself defenseless when real battles arrive. Conserve it, direct it wisely, and you can accomplish what others would think impossible. This is not about being passive, it is about being precise. Consider the archer. Again, the novice archer uses maximum strength to draw every arrow, tensing every muscle, exhausting himself with each shot. The master archer uses only the exact energy needed, no more, no less. This is why the novice tires after 50 arrows while the master can shoot 500. This is not just about technique, it is about energy intelligence. But let me warn you about a truth that few understand. Energy flows where attention goes. When you obsess about minor threats, you leak energy to them. When you worry about things you cannot control, you waste energy that could be used for victory. When you engage in battles that don't serve your strategy, you deplete resources needed for crucial fights. Most people are energy fools. They spend their strongest hours on their weakest priorities. They give their best mental energy to worrying about things they cannot change. They waste their emotional energy on people who don't deserve it. They direct their physical energy toward actions that don't advance their position. Here is the wisdom that has won 1,000 battles. Learn to recognize what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Not every challenge requires your full strength. Not every opponent deserves your complete attention. Not every opportunity is worth your investment of force. Your energy has 3 primary forms, and each must be managed differently. Physical energy, your body's strength and vitality. Mental energy, your focus and cognitive resources. Emotional energy, your psychological and spiritual reserves. Like a general managing different types of troops, you must learn to deploy each form of energy strategically. Most never grasp this truth. Rest is not weakness, it is strategic renewal. The wise warrior knows when to engage and when to withdraw, when to expend energy and when to conserve it. This is not laziness, it is strategic wisdom. Every period of rest should be preparation for future victory. Learn to recognize the signs of energy depletion before they become critical. When your decisions become clouded, when your emotions become volatile, when your body sends signals of fatigue, these are not suggestions. They are strategic intelligence about your resources. Ignore them at your peril. Your habits either preserve or waste energy. Every pattern in your life either fills your reserves or drains them. The master strategist designs their daily practices not just for immediate effect, but for sustainable energy management. They know that the greatest victories often come not from having more energy, but from wasting less. Consider how energy flows through your life like water through a system of channels. Where are the leaks? Where is energy being wasted on low-priority targets? Where are you using force when skill would suffice? Where are you fighting battles that could be won through positioning alone? Here is a secret that has preserved armies. The appearance of energy can be as powerful as energy itself. Learn to project strength even while conserving it. Let your enemies exhaust themselves while you maintain your reserves. Let them mistake your efficiency for weakness until it's too late. True power lies not in constant display of energy, but in precise application of force. Like a master swordsman who kills with a single stroke while others hack and slash, you must learn to accomplish more with less. This is the essence of strategic energy management. Remember this, energy is not just about what you can do, it's about what you can sustain. The warrior who burns bright but brief becomes a cautionary tale. The warrior who maintains their flame becomes a legend. Your energy must be managed not just for today's battle, but for all the battles to come. The ultimate expression of energy. Mastery is this: to achieve maximum impact with minimum expenditure. To move mountains not through brute force, but through perfect application of pressure. To win not because you had more energy, but because you used it more intelligently than your opponents. Master your energy, and you master the art of sustainable victory, but waste it, and even your greatest strengths become vulnerabilities, waiting to be exploited. The greatest force in warfare is not strength, it is momentum. I have watched small victories cascade into unstoppable advances, and I have seen mighty armies crumble once their momentum was broken. Yet most warriors focus only on individual battles, blind to the greater force that could carry them to ultimate victory. Let me reveal the secret that transforms scattered victories into overwhelming dominance. Momentum is not created by size of force, but by sequence of action. Like a boulder perched on a mountaintop, the hardest part is the first move. But once motion begins, that same boulder becomes unstoppable. Most fail because they wait for the perfect moment to begin, searching for some mythical advantage that will guarantee success. But hear this truth: momentum cannot be planned, it must be built. It begins not with grand gestures, but with small, deliberate actions that compound over time. Consider the general who understands this principle. He doesn't begin with his strongest attack. Instead, he starts with small engagements that his forces cannot lose. Each minor victory strengthens his troops' confidence. Each success, however small, weakens the enemy's resolve. By the time he launches his main assault, momentum has already determined the outcome. But let me warn you about momentum's greatest trap. Many mistake speed for momentum. They rush forward, confusing fast action with strategic progress. This is not momentum, it is reckless abandon. True momentum is not about velocity, it is about compounding advantage. Each move should make the next move easier, more powerful, more inevitable. Your first victories must be chosen carefully. They must be achievable, visible, and significant enough to change the psychology of both your forces and your opponents. This is why I say, begin where you are strong, where victory is certain, where success will create opportunities for even greater success. Here is what the impatient never understand. Momentum is built in layers. Each layer creates the foundation for the next. A warrior who tries to leap straight to dominance will fall. But one who builds momentum systematically, securing each gain, consolidating each position, exploiting each advantage, becomes unstoppable. Study how water builds momentum. It begins as drops, gathering into streams, flowing into rivers, and finally becoming an unstoppable flood. Each stage amplifies the force of the next. This is how you must build your campaigns, whether in business, in personal growth, or in any arena of conflict. The psychology of momentum is as important as its physical reality. When you have momentum, your opponents begin to doubt themselves. They see your progress as inevitable. Their resistance becomes hesitant, their decisions clouded by the certainty of your advance. This is why momentum itself becomes a weapon. But remember this crucial truth: momentum must be protected once gained. A single misstep, a moment of overconfidence, a rushed decision can shatter the momentum you've built. Like a general protecting his supply lines, you must secure each position before advancing to the next. Learn to recognize the signs of building momentum: when resistance decreases, when opportunities multiply, when your actions begin to create compound effects. These are signals that momentum is gathering. This is the time to press forward, to exploit every advantage, to transform momentum into dominance. Most never grasp this truth. The goal is not just to win battles, but to create conditions where victory becomes self-perpetuating. When you have true momentum, each success creates opportunities for greater success. Each victory makes the next victory easier. Each advance strengthens your position for future advances. Your strategy must account for momentum's natural rhythms. There will be times to push hard, exploiting every advantage momentum provides. There will be times to consolidate, securing your gains before the next advance. There will be times to redirect momentum, changing course without losing force. Here is the wisdom that has toppled empires. Once momentum truly builds, victory becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Your opponents find themselves fighting, not just your strength, but the accumulated force of all your previous successes. Their resistance breaks not from a single blow, but from the relentless pressure of compounding advantage. The ultimate expression of momentum is this: to reach a point where your advance becomes self-sustaining, where each victory creates the conditions for the next, where your very presence changes the strategic landscape in your favor. This is not just victory, it is dominance. Remember, the master strategist doesn't just win battles, they create cascading victories. They don't just defeat opponents, they break their will to resist. They don't just achieve objectives, they build unstoppable momentum toward greater and greater success. But all of this begins with that first move, that first victory, that first step toward building momentum. The time to begin is not when conditions are perfect, it is when you can secure that first undeniable success. For in that moment you set in motion forces that can transform scattered victories into overwhelming dominance. All warfare is based on deception. This truth makes many uncomfortable, yet it has determined the outcome of more battles than any weapon ever forged. The naive believe that victory comes to the most honorable. The wise know that victory comes to those who control what their opponents believe. Let me share a truth that most will reject. In strategy, appearing weak when you are strong or strong when you are weak is not dishonesty, it is wisdom. I have seen small forces triumph over armies because they mastered the art of controlling perception. I have watched mighty warriors fall because they believed transparency was the same as strength. But understand this clearly. Strategic deception is not about lies. It is about controlling information, managing perception, and shaping reality in ways that serve your objectives. Like a general who lights 1,000 campfires to exaggerate his army's size, you must learn to make truth itself. Your instrument, consider the master painter. Does he show you his canvas while it's half finished? Does he reveal his technique to every passing observer? Does he announce his mistakes as he makes them? No. He controls what others see, revealing his work only when it serves his purpose. This is not deception, it is mastery. Most fail because they confuse strategic silence with dishonesty, tactical misdirection with lies. They become transparent when they should be opaque, obvious when they should be subtle, revealing when they should be mysterious. They mistake openness for strength and pay the price in defeat. Here is what the honorable but defeated never understand. Your opponents do not deserve to know your true position. They have not earned access to your strategic thinking. They are not entitled to understand your capabilities. Protecting this information is not just your right. It is your duty to your own success. The art of strategic deception has many layers. Sometimes it means being invisible when you are present. Sometimes it means appearing busy when you are waiting. Sometimes it means seeming confused when you are perfectly clear. Each layer serves to shape how others respond to you, turning their assumptions into your advantages. Learn from the tiger again. When it hunts, does it announce its presence? Does it reveal its strategy? Does it show its full strength before the strike? No. It controls what its prey perceives, using camouflage, silence, and misdirection not as deceptions, but as tools of survival. But hear this warning: deception without purpose is just lying. Every act of strategic misdirection must serve your larger objective. Like a general using a feint to draw enemy forces away from his true target, your deceptions must be part of a coherent strategy, not mere tricks. Most never grasp this truth. The greatest deception is often simple silence. You do not need elaborate lies. You do not need complex manipulations. Often, you need only control what you reveal and what you withhold. Let others assume. Let them guess. Let them fool themselves. Your strength should be like an iceberg, only a small portion visible above the surface. Let your opponents see what serves your purpose. Let them believe what weakens their resolve. Let them assume what makes their defeat more certain. This is not deception, it is strategic wisdom. Remember this, in any contest, your opponent is using incomplete information to make decisions about you. This is not your flaw to correct, it is your advantage to exploit. By controlling what they see, you control how they respond. By controlling how they respond, you control the outcome. The master of strategic deception understands this paradox. Sometimes the truth, carefully presented, is the greatest deception of all. When you show strength, show it in a way that makes opponents doubt. When you show weakness, show it in a way that makes them overconfident. Make reality itself your instrument. Here is the wisdom that has won more battles than any sword. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Your true capabilities, your actual intentions, your real strategy, these are treasures to be guarded, revealed only through victory. But remember this. Crucial distinction, strategic deception is not about deceiving yourself. You must maintain perfect clarity about reality while controlling how others perceive it. Like a general who knows his true numbers but allows enemy spies to report inflated figures, you must never let your own deceptions cloud your judgment. The ultimate expression of strategic deception is this: to win without your opponents ever understanding how you did it. To achieve victory while they still believe in their own assumptions. To succeed so naturally that they never realize their perceptions were shaped by your design. Master this art, and you will understand why I say, all warfare is based on deception, not because truth doesn't matter, but because perception shapes. Reality before reality can shape perception, control what others see, and you control what they do. Control what they do, and victory becomes inevitable. The supreme folly of warfare is to strike where the enemy is strongest. Yet I watch time and again as warriors throw themselves against fortified positions, as leaders attack their opponents' most powerful defenses, as ambitious men and women waste their strength fighting where victory is most costly or impossible. Let me reveal the principle that has toppled empires. Water flows not where the mountain is highest, but where the path is least resistant. This is not cowardice. It is the highest form of strategic wisdom. I have seen small forces destroy mighty armies, not by matching their strength, but by attacking where they were weakest. Most fail because they are seduced by the challenge of confronting strength with strength. They believe victory against a powerful opponent proves their own power. This is the thinking of fools. True strategy seeks not to prove strength, but to achieve objectives. The path of wisdom flows around obstacles, not through them. Consider how water shapes the earth. It does not attempt to pierce the mountain at its thickest point. It finds the smallest cracks, the natural channels, the paths of least resistance. Over time, this gentle persistence accomplishes what brute force could never achieve. This is how you must approach every challenge. But let me warn you about a truth that few understand. Weakness is not always obvious. Sometimes what appears strong is hollow inside. Sometimes what appears weak is fortified with hidden strength. The master strategist learns to see beyond appearances, to identify true vulnerabilities, rather than apparent ones. Your task is not to overcome strength. It is to make strength irrelevant. Like a general who bypasses fortified cities to strike at unprotected supply lines, you must learn to achieve your objectives without confronting your opponent's greatest power. This requires you to see the battlefield differently. Here is what. The direct never understand. Every strength creates weakness. Every fortified position leaves something exposed. Every concentration of force creates a vacuum somewhere else. Your task is not to break down walls. It is to find the gaps between them. Study how predators hunt. They do not attack the horns of the bull or the tusks of the elephant. They wait, they watch, they identify vulnerabilities. Then they strike where defense is weakest, where reaction is slowest, where victory requires the least expenditure of energy. Most never grasp this truth. The path to victory often lies not in becoming stronger, but in becoming smarter about where you apply your existing strength. A small force perfectly positioned against a critical weakness achieves more than an army attacking where the enemy is prepared. Your strategy must become like flowing water, constantly seeking the path of least resistance. When you encounter strength, flow around it. When you find weakness, flow through it. When you discover vulnerability, concentrate your force there. This is not just tactics, it is the fundamental principle of efficient victory. Remember this: every opponent, no matter how powerful, has vulnerabilities. Every defense, no matter how strong, has gaps. Every strategy, no matter how brilliant, has blind spots. Your task is not to prove you can overcome these strengths. It is to exploit these weaknesses. The art of finding weakness requires patience. You must learn to observe without revealing your intentions. You must study your opponent's patterns, habits, and tendencies. Where are they rigid? Where are they overextended? Where have they left themselves exposed? These are the places where victory awaits. But hear this crucial warning: what appears to be weakness may be a trap. What looks like vulnerability may be an invitation to disaster. True strategy requires you to verify weakness before committing your forces. Like a general sending scouts before his army, you must test before you invest. Your own strength becomes multiplied when applied against weakness. A small force striking at a critical vulnerability achieves more than an army attacking a fortified position. This is why I say, the wise warrior does not seek to overcome strength with strength. They seek to apply strength where it will be most effective. Here is the wisdom that has won countless battles. Do not be where your opponent is strongest. Do not fight where they are prepared. Do not attack where they expect. Instead, be where they are not. Fight where they are vulnerable. Attack where they are unprepared. The ultimate expression of this principle is to make your opponent's strength work against them. When they are rigid, use their inflexibility to unbalance them. When they are aggressive, use their momentum to lead them into traps. When they are defensive, use their static positions to isolate them. Master this truth: victory does not always go to the strongest, it goes to those who best understand where to apply their strength. Like water flowing downhill, your path to success should follow the natural channels of least resistance, gathering force as you progress, until what began as a trickle becomes an unstoppable flood. This is how the small defeat the large. This is how the weak overcome the strong. This is how the wise achieve victory while others exhaust themselves fighting unnecessary battles. Find weakness, apply strength, achieve objectives. This is the path of strategic wisdom. The greatest power is the one your opponents cannot see. I have watched armies lose to invisible forces, not to ghosts or spirits, but to advantages built in silence, preparations made in darkness, strengths cultivated beyond sight. Yet most warriors focus only on what can be seen, measured, and displayed. Let me reveal the secret that has decided wars before they began. Your visible strength is merely the surface of your power. Like an iceberg, your true advantage should lie beneath the surface, vast, immovable, and invisible, until it's too late for your opponents to counter. Consider the bamboo again, but deeper now. For 4 years, it appears to do nothing. Yet beneath the soil, it builds an extensive root system that will support explosive growth. Your opponents see nothing, suspect nothing, prepare for nothing. Then, when the moment is right, victory emerges. So rapidly they cannot comprehend what happened. Most fail because they are addicted to visible power. They want their strength to be seen, their advantages to be known, their power to be recognized. This is vanity masquerading as strategy. True power grows in darkness, like roots beneath the earth, like plans within the mind, like strength within the spirit. But hear this warning: invisible advantage is not about secrecy for secrecy's sake. Every invisible preparation must serve a strategic purpose. Like a general stockpiling supplies before a long campaign, your hidden preparations must build real strength, real capability, real power, even if others cannot see it. Here is what the obvious never understand. The most powerful advantages are often systems, not assets. Habits, not actions. Preparations, not performances. These invisible forces shape the battlefield long before combat begins, yet your opponents cannot counter what they cannot see. Your training should be like the sharpening of a blade. Done. In private, revealed only through results. Your preparation should be like the laying of a foundation, invisible once complete, yet supporting everything above. Your strategy should be like the roots of a tree, unseen, yet providing both stability and nourishment. Study how nature builds power. A volcano shows nothing of its growing strength until eruption. An earthquake gives no visible sign of accumulating force. A wave appears small on the horizon before it towers over the shore. This is how you must build your advantage. Invisible until the moment of revelation. Most never grasp this truth. The greatest victories are won with advantages your opponents never knew you had. When they think you are developing one capability, you are mastering another. When they believe they understand your strength, your true power remains hidden. Your invisible advantages must be built in layers. Each layer supports the others, creating compound effects that become apparent only in victory. Like a master chess player thinking 10 moves ahead while appearing to ponder only the next move, your preparations should extend far beyond what others can perceive. Remember this: everything visible can be countered. Everything displayed can be defended against. Everything obvious can be neutralized. But the advantage your opponents don't see, that is the advantage they cannot stop. The cultivation of invisible advantage requires patience. You must resist the urge to display your progress. You must be willing to appear weak while growing strong, to seem unprepared while building preparation, to look vulnerable while developing invulnerability. Here is the wisdom that has preserved empires. Build. Your strength, like a master builder, constructs a fortress from the foundation up. The deeper your foundation, the higher your tower can rise. The stronger your roots, the mightier your tree can grow. The more invisible your preparation, the more unstoppable your advance. Your strategy must become like the wind, felt, but not seen, known only by its effects, understood only after it has passed. Let others display their power. Let them show their strength. Let them reveal their capabilities. You must build the kind of advantage that becomes visible only in victory. The ultimate expression of invisible advantage is this: to win so naturally that your opponents never realize how thoroughly they were outmatched. To succeed so completely that they attribute their defeat to fate rather than your preparation. To triumph so inevitably that they never understand the true source of your power. Learn to value what cannot be seen. Your habits, your preparation, your mental strength, your strategic depth, these invisible forces determine victory long before visible combat begins. Like the roots that determine the height of the tree, your invisible advantages determine the scale of your success. But remember this crucial truth: invisible advantage must eventually become visible victory. Like the volcano that finally erupts, like the earthquake that finally strikes, like the wave that finally crashes upon the shore, your hidden strength must emerge at the perfect moment, with overwhelming force. Master this principle. Build your power like nature builds a storm, silently, invisibly, inevitably. Let others focus on what can be seen. You must focus on building the kind of advantage that cannot be seen until it cannot be stopped. For in the end, the most powerful forces are the ones your opponents never knew they needed to fear. Reality is not what exists. It is what others believe exists. I have seen mighty armies retreat from shadows and small forces triumph through the power of perception alone. Yet most warriors focus only on what is, forgetting that what others Belief shapes every battle before it begins. Let me share with you the deepest secret of power. People do not react to reality, they react to their perception of reality. I have watched kingdoms fall not because they were weak, but because they were perceived as weak. I have seen leaders triumph not because they were strong, but because they were perceived as invincible. Consider the moon's reflection on water. The reflection is not the moon, yet it affects how we see the night. Your image in the minds of others is not you, yet it determines how they respond to your every move. This is not deception. It is the mastery of human nature itself. Most fail because they believe truth alone is enough. They think that being strong is the same as being perceived as strong, that being capable is the same as being recognized as capable. This is the thinking of amateurs. The master strategist knows that perception creates the environment in which truth operates. But hear this warning: controlling perception is not about creating illusions. It is about shaping the lens through which others view reality. Like a general who makes his army appear larger by having each soldier light multiple fires, you must learn to shape how others interpret what they see. Here is what the transparent never understand. Every action you take, every word you speak, every response you give shapes how others perceive you. There is no neutral ground. Either you are actively shaping these perceptions or you are passively allowing others to shape them for you. Your reputation should be like a carefully tended garden. Every element purposefully cultivated, every view carefully considered, every impression thoughtfully shaped. This is not vanity, it is strategic necessity. In the minds of others, perception becomes reality, and reality determines their actions. Study how the masterful leader operates. They understand that strength displayed at the right moment becomes legend. Wisdom revealed in the right context becomes authority. Capability demonstrated in the right way becomes reputation. Each element carefully chosen, each impression deliberately crafted. Most never grasp this truth. People will create a story about you whether you guide them or not. They will interpret your actions, assign meaning to your choices, and draw conclusions about your capabilities. Your choice is not whether this happens, but whether you will master this process. Your every movement must become like the strokes of a painter, deliberate, purposeful, contributing to the larger image you wish to create. When you speak, when you act, when you remain silent, each choice must serve your strategic intent in shaping how others perceive you. Remember this: in any conflict, the battlefield exists first in the minds of your opponents. Their perception of your strength, their belief in your capabilities, their understanding of your intentions. These mental factors determine their actions more surely than any physical reality. The mastery of perception requires profound self-awareness. You must understand how your actions will be interpreted, how your words will be received, how your presence will be felt. Like a chess master thinking several moves ahead, you must anticipate how each choice will shape others' perceptions. Here is the wisdom that has crowned kings. People's perceptions create self-fulfilling prophecies. When they believe you are powerful, they act in ways that make you more powerful. When they believe you are decisive, they respond in ways that make your decisions more effective. When they believe you are strategic, they behave in ways that make your strategies work. Your approach must become like water-shaping stone, patient, consistent, creating lasting impressions through persistent influence. Each interaction, each demonstration, each silence must reinforce the perception you wish to create. This is not manipulation. It is strategic communication at its highest level. The ultimate expression of perception control is this: to have others act in accordance with your strategy, not because you force them, but because their perception of reality makes those actions seem natural, inevitable, and in their own best interest. Learn to see yourself through the eyes of others, not to be controlled by their perceptions, but to understand how these perceptions shape the strategic landscape. Like a general viewing his army from the enemy's position, you must understand how your every move is interpreted. But remember this crucial truth: perception must ultimately be supported by capability. Like a foundation supporting a facade, your real strength must be sufficient to support the perceptions you create. The greatest masters of perception are not those who create illusions, but those who reveal truth in ways that serve their strategic purpose. Master this principle. Shape how others see you, and you shape how they respond to you. Control how they perceive reality, and you control how they act within that reality. For in the end, the most powerful person in any room is not the one with the most strength, but the one who most effectively shapes how others perceive strength itself. The supreme strategist wins 1,000 victories by knowing which single battle to fight. Yet I watch as warriors exhaust themselves in pointless conflicts, as leaders waste resources on unnecessary struggles, as ambitious men and women destroy themselves by fighting every challenge that appears before them. Let me reveal the secret that preserves empires. Not every battle that presents itself deserves your engagement. I have seen more warriors fall from fighting unnecessary battles than from losing necessary ones. The art of warfare is not just knowing how to win. It is knowing which victories are worth pursuing. Consider the mountain stream. It does not fight every boulder in its path. It flows around some, wears away others, and sometimes changes course entirely. This is not weakness. It is the highest form of strategic wisdom. The stream reaches the ocean not by winning every conflict, but by choosing which conflicts to avoid. Most fail because they are enslaved by their own pride. They believe that walking away from any challenge is weakness, that every provocation demands a response, that every battle must be fought. This is the thinking of children playing at war, not masters practicing strategy. But hear this warning. Strategic withdrawal is not the same as cowardice. Walking away from battles you don't need to win is not the same as running from battles. You need to fight. Like a general who abandons a worthless position to secure a vital one, you must learn to distinguish between necessary and unnecessary conflicts. Here is what the prideful never understand. Every battle you engage in carries a cost. Energy spent, resources consumed, opportunities missed. These are the hidden prices of unnecessary conflict. The master strategist counts these costs before, not after, deciding to engage. Your approach must become like that of a wise ruler who knows that not every border skirmish requires full mobilization. Some threats can be ignored, some challenges can be delegated, some provocations are better met with diplomacy than with force. This is not weakness, it is strategic wisdom. Study how the experienced commander operates. They know that victory in an unnecessary battle often leads to defeat in an essential one. They understand that resources spent fighting battles you don't need to win are resources unavailable when crucial conflicts arise. They see how pride can blind strategy. Most never grasp this truth. Walking away from an unnecessary battle is not just about avoiding loss, it is about preserving strength for genuine opportunities. Like a hunter who lets small game pass to preserve their position for larger prey, you must learn to focus your energy where it truly matters. Your strategy must become like the judgment of a seasoned general who knows that not every enemy needs to be defeated, not every position needs to be taken, not every insult needs to be answered. Each potential conflict must be measured against your larger objectives. Remember this. In any campaign, your scarcest resource is not strength. It is strategic focus. Every unnecessary battle you engage in diverts attention from essential objectives. Every pointless conflict you embrace weakens your position in crucial contests. The mastery of strategic withdrawal requires supreme self-confidence. You must be secure enough to walk away from challenges that don't serve your purpose, strong enough to ignore provocations that don't advance your position, wise enough to distinguish between battles that matter and those that don't. Here's the wisdom that has preserved dynasties. The battles you don't fight are as important as the ones you do. Every conflict avoided is energy preserved. Every unnecessary fight declined is strength maintained. Every pointless challenge ignored is focus protected. Your choices must become like those of a master chess player who knows that not every piece needs to be captured, not every attack needs to be countered, not every threat needs to be addressed. Sometimes the winning move is to focus elsewhere, to pursue larger objectives, while others waste energy on minor skirmishes. The ultimate expression of strategic discretion is this: to achieve your objectives so efficiently that many battles become unnecessary, to position yourself so effectively that many conflicts resolve themselves, to master strategy so completely that victory often requires no combat at all. Learn to recognize battles that don't serve your purpose. What appears to be an opportunity may be a distraction. What feels like a necessary response may be a strategic trap. What seems like an important conflict may be a meaningless drain on your resources. But remember this crucial truth: walking away from unnecessary battles requires more strength than fighting them. It demands the courage to appear weak in minor matters so you can be strong in major ones. It requires the wisdom to accept small challenges to your pride so you can focus on genuine threats to your objectives. Master this principle. Let others exhaust themselves fighting battles that don't matter. Let them waste their strength proving points that don't advance their position. Let them drain their resources engaging in conflicts that don't serve their purpose. You must reserve your power for battles that align with your strategic objectives. For in the end, the most successful strategist is not the one who wins every battle. It is the one who wins the battles that matter while avoiding the ones that don't. A divided mind is already defeated. I have watched mighty armies crumble not from superior force, but from scattered attention. I have seen empires fall not from external strength, but from internal confusion. Yet most warriors focus only on gathering force, forgetting that divided attention multiplies the effect of every strike. Let me reveal the principle that has shattered kingdoms. The mind that tries to defend everything defends nothing. I have seen small forces triumph over larger ones not by matching their strength, but by forcing them to defend too many points at once. When attention splinters, strength becomes weakness. Consider how a master huntsman tracks his prey. He does not chase it directly. Instead, he creates multiple pressure points, forcing the animal to constantly shift its attention, to question every direction, to exhaust itself through uncertainty. This is not just tactics, it is the essence of strategic dominance. Most fail because they attack only where they are strongest. They gather their force into a single point, telegraph their intentions, and strike exactly where their opponent expects. This is the strategy of amateurs. The master strategist knows that physical force is multiplied by mental confusion. But hear this warning: creating division in your opponent's mind requires perfect clarity in your own. Like a general coordinating multiple attacks while maintaining a singular purpose, you must learn to create confusion without becoming confused yourself. Here is what the direct never understand. The goal is not just to apply force, but to make force impossible to counter. When your opponent must defend multiple points, when they must question every movement, when they cannot determine your true intention, then your strength becomes overwhelming. Your strategy should be like a mountain stream dividing into multiple channels. Each channel seems manageable alone, yet together they overwhelm any defense. This is how you must approach every challenge, not with a single point of pressure, but with multiple forces that divide attention and multiply confusion. Study how nature defeats greater forces. A river doesn't overcome a mountain through direct confrontation. It creates countless small channels that eventually reduce the mountain to sand. This is how you must act. Each point of pressure you create should force your opponent to divide their attention further. Most never grasp this truth. The mind can only focus effectively on one point at a time. Force your opponent to focus on 3 points, and they focus On none. Force them to defend 5 points, and they defend none effectively. Create 10 points of uncertainty, and their strength becomes paralysis. Your attacks must become like a constellation of stars, each point small enough to seem manageable, yet together creating a pattern that overwhelms perception. When your opponent focuses on one point, they expose themselves to others. When they try to comprehend the whole, they lose focus on the critical. Remember this: in any conflict, confusion is as powerful as force. A smaller force that maintains clarity while creating confusion can defeat a larger force that loses coherence trying to respond. This is why focus must be protected as carefully as territory. The mastery of divided attention requires precision. Each point of pressure must be credible enough to demand response, each threat real enough to require defense, each movement purposeful enough to force reaction. Like a conductor leading an orchestra of chaos, you must maintain perfect control while creating perfect confusion. Here is the wisdom that has toppled thrones. The mind breaks before the body. Create enough points of mental pressure, and physical strength becomes irrelevant. Force your opponent to question enough decisions, and their capability for decisive action vanishes. Your strategy must become like a master illusionist's performance. Every movement purposeful, every gesture meaningful, yet the true intention hidden until the moment of revelation. While your opponent's attention fragments trying to understand each element, your single purpose advances unopposed. The ultimate expression of this principle is this: to create so many points of pressure that your opponent's defeat seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Their attention fragments, their responses become confused, their strength dissipates, not because you overpowered them, but because you overwhelmed their ability to respond coherently. Learn to create pressure without creating pattern. Each point of attack should seem independent, yet serve your unified purpose. Each threat should demand attention, yet mask your true intention. Each movement should force response, yet contribute to your opponent's overall confusion. But remember this crucial truth: the goal is not confusion for confusion's sake. Every point of pressure, every divided attention, every fragmented focus must serve your strategic purpose. Like a general using multiple attacks to mask his main thrust, your creation of confusion must advance your true objective. Master this principle. While others try to gather more force, you must learn to divide your opponent's ability to resist the force you have. While they focus on becoming stronger, you must focus on making their strength irrelevant through divided attention. While they think in terms of direct confrontation, you must think in terms of overwhelming their mental capacity to respond. For, in the end, the most devastating force is not the one that strikes hardest, but the one that makes effective response impossible through divided attention and multiplied confusion. In the storm of battle, the greatest enemy is not the chaos around you, it is the chaos within you. I have watched superior armies crumble, not from external pressure, but from internal panic. I have seen mighty warriors fall, not because they were overpowered, but because they lost their center in crucial moments. Let me share with you the secret that has preserved generals in the heart of battle. Calmness is not the absence of chaos, it is the mastery of chaos. I have seen leaders guide their forces through impossible situations not because they eliminated uncertainty, but because they remained steady within it. Consider the eye of the hurricane. While destruction rages around it, the center remains, calm, unmoved, powerful in its stillness. This is how you must learn to be. Let chaos swirl around you, let uncertainty rage, but maintain that unshakable center from which all clear action emerges. Most fail because they try to control what cannot be controlled. They exhaust themselves fighting against uncertainty itself, trying to make the chaotic orderly, attempting to make the unpredictable predictable. This is the strategy of fools. The master strategist knows that true power lies not in controlling chaos, but in remaining centered within it. But hear this warning. Calmness is not passivity. Like a tiger, perfectly still before the strike, your stillness must be filled with potential energy. Your calm must contain the seeds of decisive action. This is not the dull calm of surrender, but the electric calm of focused power. Here is what the anxious never understand. Chaos is neutral. It destroys the unfocused and unprepared, yes, but it also creates opportunities that the calm mind can seize. When others panic, when they lose their way, when they scatter in confusion, this is when the centered warrior finds their clearest path to victory. Your mind must become like the surface of a deep lake. Storms may rage above, creating waves and turbulence on the surface, but the depths remain undisturbed, clear, powerful in their stillness. This is not metaphor, it is practical strategy for surviving and thriving in chaos. Study how the experienced captain navigates a storm. They do not fight against every wave. They do not panic at every gust of wind. They maintain their course through the chaos, adjusting when necessary but never losing sight of their ultimate destination. This is how you must operate in times of uncertainty. Most never grasp this truth. The calmer you remain, the more clearly you see. When others are blinded by panic, your steady mind perceives opportunities. When they are deafened by fear, you hear the subtle signals that point toward victory. When they are paralyzed by uncertainty, you move with purpose through the chaos. Your calmness must become like a lighthouse in a storm, steady, reliable, offering clear guidance while others lose their way. This is not just about personal serenity. It is about maintaining the kind of steadiness that others can rely on, the kind of clarity that cuts through confusion. Remember this, in any situation of intense pressure, the mind tends to match the chaos it perceives. As circumstances become more chaotic, your dedication to inner stillness must become stronger. This is not natural. It must be cultivated, practiced, mastered before it is needed. The mastery of calm requires understanding that chaos is often temporary. Like a storm that must pass, like a fire that must burn itself out, most chaos contains the seeds of its own ending. Your task is not to fight against this natural cycle, but to maintain your center until clarity reemerges. Here is the wisdom that has guided armies through darkness. The more chaotic the situation, the simpler your focus must become. Reduce everything to its essence. What is your true objective? What is the next clear step? What can you control in this moment? Let everything else fall away. Your stability must become like the roots of an ancient tree. The stronger the winds of chaos blow, the deeper your calmness must reach. This is how you remain standing when others fall. This is how you find purchase when others lose their footing. This is how you advance when others retreat in confusion. The ultimate expression of strategic calm is this: to maintain such perfect clarity in chaos that you can execute complex strategies while others can barely think. To keep your mind so steady that you can see opportunities others miss, take actions others fear, and maintain course while others lose their way. Learn to find clarity in confusion. When circumstances become complex, simplify your focus. When pressure intensifies, deepen your calm. When others scatter in panic, gather your concentration. This is not just about surviving chaos. It is about using it as a strategic advantage. But remember this crucial truth: calmness must be practiced in small moments to be available in large ones. Like a warrior who trains with weighted weapons, to make real combat seem lighter, you must practice maintaining calm in minor challenges to prepare for major ones. Master this principle. Let others be rattled by chaos. Let them waste energy fighting against uncertainty. Let them exhaust themselves trying to control the uncontrollable. You must become the eye of the hurricane, still, clear, powerful, drawing strength from the very chaos that weakens others. For, in the end, The warrior who masters calm in chaos masters warfare itself. For what is war but organized chaos? What is victory but clarity of purpose maintained through uncertainty? What is strategy but the art of remaining centered while creating? Chaos for others? The greatest victories are not won in moments of glory, but in hours of endurance. I have watched mighty armies fall, not to superior strength, but to superior patience. I have seen powerful opponents defeated not by what broke them, but by what outlasted them. Yet most warriors train only for the clash, forgetting that endurance decides more battles than skill ever has. Let me reveal the principle that has preserved dynasties. The ability to endure is greater than the ability to strike. I have seen smaller forces triumph over larger ones not through brilliant tactics, but through relentless persistence. When two forces clash, victory often goes not to the stronger, but to the one who can sustain their strength longer. Consider the mountain. It does not defeat the wind through resistance, but through endurance. Storm after storm may rage against its face, yet the mountain remains. This is not passive acceptance. It is the highest form of strength. The mountain endures not because it fights every battle, but because it outlasts every opponent. Most fail because they train for sprints when warfare is a marathon. They exhaust themselves seeking quick victories, depleting their resources in early engagements, leaving themselves vulnerable to opponents who understand the power of persistence. This is the strategy of the impatient, and impatience has killed more warriors than any weapon. But hear this warning: endurance is not mere stubbornness. Like a river that flows around obstacles it cannot move, your persistence must be intelligent, adaptive, strategic. This is not about mindlessly absorbing punishment. It is about outlasting opposition while preserving your strength. Here is what the hasty never understand. Time itself becomes a weapon in the hands of those who know how to use it. Every moment your opponent spends trying to defeat you costs them energy. Every effort they waste attempting to break your position weakens their own. Endurance transforms their strength into your advantage. Your resolve must become like the ocean, deep, constant, inexhaustible. Waves may crash upon the surface, storms may churn the waters, but the depths remain unmoved, containing power that no temporary disturbance can disrupt. This is how you must develop your strategic endurance. Study how the wise general conducts a long campaign. They do not exhaust their forces chasing quick victories. They do not deplete their resources in early battles. They husband their strength, maintain their position, and allow their opponent's impatience to become their ally. This is the essence of strategic endurance. Most never grasp this truth. The ability to endure is as much mental as physical. A strong mind can sustain a tired body, but a broken spirit will defeat even the strongest warrior. This is why mental endurance must be cultivated as carefully as physical strength. Your strategy must become like the siege of a great fortress, patient, systematic, relentless. Each day that you maintain your position is a victory. Each moment that you continue, while others falter, is an advantage gained. Each instance of persistence in the face of adversity builds the strength to endure greater challenges. Remember this: in any prolonged conflict, momentum shifts like the tide. There will be moments of advance and moments of retreat, periods of victory and periods of hardship. The warrior who understands this maintains their resolve through both, knowing that endurance ultimately determines the outcome. The mastery of endurance requires deep understanding of your own limits. Like a general who knows exactly how long his supplies will last, you must know precisely what you can sustain. This is not about pushing until you break. It is about maintaining effective strength over time. Here is the wisdom that has won the longest wars. The ability to endure is itself a form of victory. Every challenge you survive strengthens your capacity to face the next. Every opposition you outlast proves the futility of standing against you. Every difficulty you endure becomes testimony to your invincibility. Your endurance must become like time itself, constant, relentless, unstoppable. Where others see obstacles, you must see opportunities to demonstrate your persistence. Where they see reasons to quit, you must see reasons to continue. Where they see defeat, you must see merely another step in a longer journey. The ultimate expression of strategic endurance is this: to maintain such consistent strength that opponents exhaust themselves trying to defeat you. To preserve such steady resolve that their confidence breaks before your position does. To demonstrate such relentless persistence that they question the wisdom of opposing you at all. Learn to measure victory not in moments, but in momentum. Not in individual battles, but in sustained campaigns. Not in temporary triumphs, but in lasting dominance. This is the deeper game that most never see. The game of outlasting rather than merely overwhelming. But remember this crucial truth: endurance must be paired with intelligence. Like a river that changes course when it cannot overcome an obstacle, your persistence must be guided by strategy. Sometimes enduring means adapting. Sometimes it means withdrawing to preserve strength. Sometimes it means changing form while maintaining purpose. Master this principle. Let others exhaust themselves seeking quick victories. Let them deplete their resources chasing immediate triumph. Let them break themselves against the mountain of your resolve. You must become time's ally rather than its enemy, using patience as a weapon and endurance as a strategy. For in the end, the greatest power is not the ability to strike hardest, but the capacity to endure longest, not the strength to impose your will quickly, but the resilience to maintain it consistently, not the force to break opposition, but the endurance to outlast it. The highest achievement in warfare is not to win with obvious effort, but to triumph with apparent ease. I have watched the greatest victories unfold like silk unrolling, smooth and inevitable. I have seen masters triumph in ways that looked so natural. Observers believed victory was their destiny rather than their achievement. Let me reveal the deepest secret of power. True mastery is invisible to those who don't possess it. When you achieve perfect preparation, perfect timing, and perfect execution, your victory appears to others as mere luck or fate. This is not deception. It is the ultimate expression of skill. Consider the flight of an arrow shot by a master archer. To observers, it appears to move with inevitable grace, as if it could not have flown any other way. They do not see the thousands of hours of practice, the countless adjustments, the deep understanding of wind and distance. They see only the perfect result. Most fail because they need their effort to be seen. They want others to know how hard they worked, how much they struggled, how difficult their victory was to achieve. This is vanity masquerading as accomplishment. The true master knows that the highest victory looks like it required no victory at all. But hear this warning: making victory look effortless requires more effort than any obvious triumph. Like a dancer who makes impossible movements appear natural, you must work harder to conceal your work than to display it. This is not about doing less. It is about achieving more while showing less. Here is what the obvious never understand. When victory appears effortless, it becomes twice as powerful. Your opponents are defeated not just by the outcome, but by the apparent ease with which you achieved it. Their confidence is shaken not by your strength, but by how little strength you seem to require. Your mastery should be like the flow of water downhill, so natural that observers forget it is governed by precise laws, so smooth that they forget. It is shaped by deep patterns, so effective that they forget it is the result of constant adaptation. Study how nature achieves its effects. The tree does not grunt and strain to grow. It simply grows. The river doesn't boast about carving the canyon, it simply flows. The sun doesn't announce its power to illuminate. It simply shines. This is the kind of power you must cultivate. Effective without effort, influential without insistence, victorious without vanity. Most never grasp this truth. The more effortless your victory appears, the more it demoralizes your opponents. When you win through obvious struggle, you show others that victory is possible through effort. But when you win with apparent ease, you make them question whether victory against you is possible at all. Your execution must become like the movement of clouds across the sky, natural, unforced, yet perfectly aligned with underlying currents. Each action should flow from the last with such smoothness that observers cannot see where one ends and another begins. Remember this: in any contest, psychology is as important as capability. When your victories look effortless, you affect not just the current battle, but all future ones. Your opponents begin to doubt themselves before they even face you, defeated not by your strength, but by their perception of your invincibility. The mastery of effortless victory requires perfect integration of skill and strategy. Like a master chef who makes complex dishes appear simple, you must learn to conceal complexity behind apparent simplicity, to hide extensive preparation behind natural execution. Here is the wisdom that has intimidated empires. When victory appears effortless, your power seems limitless. Observers cannot see your boundaries because they cannot see your effort. They cannot calculate your limitations because they cannot see your exertion. They cannot find your weaknesses because they cannot see your struggles. Your triumph should be like the rising of the sun, inevitable, natural, unopposable. Let others strain and struggle visibly. Let them show their effort and exertion. Let them celebrate their hard-won victories. You must reach the level where victory flows from who you are rather than what you do. The ultimate expression of strategic mastery is this: to achieve your objective so naturally that others think you were simply lucky, to overcome obstacles so smoothly that others think you were merely fortunate, to defeat opposition so effortlessly that others think you were destined to win. Learn to conceal not just your strategies, but your mastery itself. When you move, it should seem like the natural way things unfold. When you succeed, it should appear to be the obvious outcome. When you triumph, it should feel to others like the only possible result. But remember this crucial truth: effortless victory requires relentless preparation. Like an actor who makes complex scenes appear natural through countless rehearsals, you must practice until perfection becomes your normal state, until mastery becomes your natural expression. Master this principle. Let others show their work. Let them display their effort. Let them celebrate how hard they tried. You must reach the level where victory flows through you like breath, where triumph emerges from you like light from the sun, where success appears to be not what you do, but who you are. For in the end, the most devastating victory is not the one that shows your strength, but the one that makes your strength appear infinite. Not the one that proves your effort, but the one that makes effort appear unnecessary. Not the one that demonstrates your mastery, but the one that makes mastery appear to be your natural state. In my final teaching, I share with you the ultimate secret of warfare. True power lies not in perfecting any single form, but in transcending form itself. I have watched the greatest warriors fall because they became prisoners of their own mastery, trapped within the very techniques that once made them strong. Let me reveal the principle that represents the pinnacle of strategic wisdom. Formlessness is the highest form. Like water that becomes the cup, the bowl, the lake, or the ocean without losing its essential nature, you must learn to adapt without losing your core power. This is not philosophical meandering. It is the apex of strategic excellence. Consider water once more, but now at its deepest level. It has no constant shape, yet it can take any shape. It has no constant form, yet it can adapt to any form. It has no fixed strategy, yet it can overcome any obstacle. This is not just an analogy. It is the template for ultimate mastery. Most fail because they become attached to what worked before. They perfect a style, master a technique, develop a strategy, and then they stop growing. They become like soldiers who train to fight yesterday's wars. The master strategist knows that yesterday's perfection becomes today's limitation. But hear this warning. Formlessness is not the absence of skill, it is the transcendence of skill. Like a master musician who has moved beyond mere technique to pure expression, you must learn to move beyond rigid forms while retaining all their power. This is not about knowing nothing. It is about knowing so deeply that form becomes unnecessary. Here is what the rigid never understand. When you become formless, you become unbeatable. Not because you are stronger, but because you cannot be predicted. Not because you are faster, but because you cannot be patterns. Not because you are more skilled, but because you cannot be countered. Your adaptability must become so perfect that you have no single way of operating. Like water that freezes, flows, or rises as vapor depending on circumstances, you must learn to transform your approach completely while maintaining your essential power. This is the ultimate expression of strategic mastery. Study how consciousness itself operates. It has no fixed form, yet it can engage with any form. It has no rigid structure, yet it can understand all structures. It has no single way of working, yet it can adapt to any situation. This is the level of formlessness you must achieve in your strategic thinking. Most never grasp this truth. The highest mastery looks like its opposite. When you achieve true formlessness, others will say you have no skill because they cannot see your skill. They will say you have no strategy because they cannot predict your strategy. They will say you have no power because they cannot understand your power. Your approach must become like the space between thoughts, empty yet full of potential, formless yet capable of containing any form, invisible yet essential to all visible. Action. This is not mysticism. It is the practical reality of ultimate strategic freedom. Remember this. In any conflict, the one bound by form must move according to their form. But the one who has transcended form can move according to the moment. This is why formlessness is not a weakness. It is the ultimate strength. Not because it is powerful, but because it cannot be opposed. The mastery of formlessness requires you to move beyond all attachment to method. Like a shadow that can take any shape while remaining essentially unchanged, you must learn to adapt completely while remaining true to your strategic purpose. This is the paradox of formless power. Here is the wisdom that represents the summit of strategic thought. When you achieve true formlessness, every situation becomes an advantage. Every opponent's strength becomes a weakness. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity. Not through opposition, but through perfect adaptation. Your strategic presence should become like the wind, felt but not seen, known by its effects, yet impossible. To grasp, capable of gentle breeze or devastating storm, yet bound by neither. Let others perfect their defenses against specific attacks. You must become that which cannot be defended against. The ultimate expression of strategic formlessness is this: to adapt so perfectly that resistance becomes impossible. To flow so naturally that opposition becomes meaningless. To operate so formlessly that defeat becomes inconceivable, not through superior strength, but through perfect adaptability. Learn to recognize the difference between empty formlessness and masterful formlessness. Empty formlessness is the absence of skill. Masterful formlessness is the transcendence of skill. One is weakness pretending to be strength. The other is strength so pure it needs no pretense. But remember this crucial truth: formlessness is not an escape from discipline. It is the highest expression of discipline. Like a master artist who has moved beyond technique to pure creation, you must first master form completely before you can transcend it perfectly. Master this final principle. Let others perfect their styles. Let them master their techniques. Let them become imprisoned within their own expertise. You must reach the level where you can use any style, adapt to any situation, overcome any opposition, not because you have mastered all forms, but because you have transcended form itself. For in the end, the greatest power is not the ability to maintain any particular form, but the ability to adapt perfectly to any situation. Not the strength to persist in any specific way, but the freedom to transform in any necessary way. Not the power to perfect any single approach, but the mastery to transcend approach itself. This is my final teaching, and in it lies the seed of limitless victory. For when you become truly formless, you become truly unstoppable. Not through force, but through perfect adaptation. Not through resistance, but through perfect flow. Not through opposition, but through perfect transformation. Be formless, be relentless, be victorious.